What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast, where movies are more than just entertainment. They're a catalyst for meaningful conversations. I'm Jonathan Sprang, and I go by Sprang. And most weeks, we dive into movies to watch in preparation for new releases hitting theaters. But we don't stop there. We explore the morals, the deeper ideas, and the life lessons that these films have to offer. This week, we're going to be touching on our top 5 romance movies. So it's the month of February, it's the month of love, and Kristen and I walk down our top 5. Are there going to be any things in common? You'll have to watch to find out. You can follow our movie journey and join the conversation on Instagram at Movies That Make You. And you can see all of our lists over at Letterboxd at I Am Sprang. Also, I just set up a new site to house all of our links. And you can actually see previews of the episodes on there. And you can click and watch them where you would like to very easily. It's called bio.site/Movies That Make You. I'll be posting that on our Instagram pretty heavily too. So if you follow us over there, you can get that link quick. We love hearing from you, so we'd love if you would drop us a line. Let us know what movies have made an impact on your life. But before we dive into this week's episode, here's a sneak peek of the next 4 weeks on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we're going to be diving into Captain America. There's a new movie coming out. Sam Wilson is now Captain America. We got introduced to him in Winter Soldier. So we're going to pick up at Winter Soldier and then Civil War and then Infinity War and Endgame to do a little refresher for ourselves on Captain America, his character, his role, and how Sam Wilson got the shield. The week after that, Papa Goss is going to be joining us for a horror episode. We're going to be talking about movies to gear up for The Monkey, Stephen King's short story that's being turned into a film. And to gear up for that movie, we watched a couple other films that have these kind of doll characters that cause havoc. But also we touched on one film that is another Stephen King short story, and then also another film from the director of The Monkey. So if you want to gear up for The Monkey, you definitely want to check it out. The week after that, we're going to be talking about movies that people are trapped underwater. So we watched Underwater and we watched 47 Meters Down to gear up for Last Breath, which comes out that week. The boys were certainly on the edge of their seat the entire time. It was tense in the room as we watched those films. But yeah, you don't want to miss that episode. The week after that, our buddy Kevin's going to be on, my brother-in-law. He was on the show for Robin Williams. He's going to be back. We're going to be talking about Bong Joon-ho movies in preparation for Mickey 17 that drops that week. We're going to be talking about Memories of a Murder, Parasite, and Snowpiercer to discuss kind of what this director does with his films. He won the Oscar for Parasite, so really looking forward to this new one. Hope those episodes excite you. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. And as you can see, Kristen and I are on video. This is the first time for everything. Welcome, Kristen, to the fun party that is video.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Yes, we've done video for a couple times with the boys, and we definitely have gotten more interaction on Instagram. We posted a video on Thursday that was just a clip of Colton talking about Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I looked at it yesterday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was at 1,280 views, and I was like, "What?" And so I texted all the boys and said, it's like our first time over 1,000, but I put it on Instagram. It was like, hey, our fastest to 1,000. So that didn't sound so lame. But yes, our first to 1,000 ever. When we went to bed last night, it was at 2,800 views. I woke up this morning and it's like 30 something thousand views.
That's insane.
I got to look at it right now and see where we're at. Cause I couldn't believe it.
He's so funny. Just the way Colton, he's just so like his personality.
13,000 views.
Samsonite,
Yeah,
it's close.
Not 30,000, but still 13,000 views on this clip, and it's amazing. So
yeah,
if you haven't checked it out, go to Instagram, find it. It's hilarious. Clifford the Big Red Dog, and it's just Colton's personality on display, and I love that. And
that's
just
so
pumped that it's blown up. I mean, and Jacob's wearing a shirt that says I'm at a concert. And so somebody commented, I'm at a concert. So it's just like it's like so great to see their personalities. And so now you're on the podcast on video, so people can see your personality too, and all your eye rolls, and you can't hide behind the microphone anymore. They're going to see how you react to everything, and they're going to
all get ready. Apparently I can't control my face, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. So this week we are going to be talking. It's the first post of February, first podcast of February, 2025, and so we are going to be doing our top five romance movies. And I say romance, love stories, love movies that make you feel love. You know, if you go to our letterbox, which is letterboxed at I am Sprang, you'll see like we have a list on there that calls "Make You Fall in Love" or "Make You Love," and this is kind of just a snapshot of that. When we think about love stories, what are the ones that jump out to us? And so I'm excited to hear your list. I haven't heard your list yet. You haven't heard mine. I think there's going to be a couple of crossovers, but we'll see.
And hey, I'm prepared with my shirt. We got the besties.
Yes,
That's the
amazing.
bromance. Had to
Yes.
represent.
That's one of those Christmas gifts that I forgot I got you, like, because I bought it like 6 months before Christmas. And then I was just putting some of your other Christmas presents in the closet, like, what is this? Oh, yeah, cool.
I love it. They're so funny.
Absolutely. One of our favorite movies from last year, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So other than before we jump in, let's check in a little bit. How's life going? How's the gym? How's work, family, all
Gym's
that stuff?
good. Yeah, I'm trying to get my 3 to 4 workouts a week. Love it. F45. Woo! Um, just going through old videos. So my parents got rid of like all the VHSs and we're looking to digitize some of them. So looking through my old gymnastics videos and, critiquing my 13-year-old self. So that's fun. But yeah, the kids are good. Just doing great in school. Connor's about to get his driving permit. And I'm like, oh, what's happening? He's my little guy.
Yeah, your
So
birthday's in a couple weeks, so that's gonna be
yeah,
fun.
turning 41.
Yeah, you're
And then
old
Connor will be
now.
15. Oh, hold on. You're still 4 years older than me, so
I know we just passed my moment when I was like, 3 months from today, I'll be 45.
still
Crazy.
looking hot.
Thanks, babe. And I had to wear my love shirt also because NSYNC, they write some good love songs.
Yeah.
They had some
Yeah,
good
so I'm
ones.
excited about this podcast. I love love and I was always the rom-com, when we first met, so you helped me broaden my horizon, but I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you're wanting to be on video. Um, Life's going pretty good for me too. I've had a couple of opportunities to lead worship at a church in Dallas. It's kind of a sister church of one that I did last year, and this one's been really fun. And the songs we're doing tomorrow are just really solid and exciting. So excited to do that. Excited to get that opportunity. It's always fun to kind of go back to the old days of how I led worship every week. So it's fun to do that every once in a while. And then I'm actually tomorrow night got a leading worship for some teens in the colony. So a
That's
couple
good.
awesome things. And I just released my first single. So that dropped yesterday, Valentine, featuring Damac, which is a good friend of ours. You can find him on Instagram at Damac Music with a K at the end instead of C, but Damac Music. But yeah, check it out. I'm Sprang.music. If you're interested, I'm really proud of it and going to be releasing an EP in March. So it's fun to kind of have that finally. I recorded it last July, and so to have it finally out, and I knew it was the goal because it was called Valentine. I was going to release it around Valentine, so I knew I had the goal to do that. So it's just 6 months later, here we are. So pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And what's cool is Valentine's Day is my birthday. So like he didn't write it for me. He did put a verse in there for me. So it's just crazy like how that all worked out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like I wrote it for you before I knew you. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it happens in the movies sometimes, Something happens, somebody writes a song and then down the road it becomes the song that's, for someone else. So
Yeah.
it just happens, It's just fun. I'm proud of the song. Actually, I pulled it up on Spotify yesterday, and the funny thing about that was the fact that I don't have the pay Spotify. I just have the free, so I can't play the song. I have to hit play, and it like shuffles it in a playlist with all these other random artists. But it was fun to kind of hear the songs that were being played because it actually matched like the tones and the sounds and even the instruments that I used, and a lot of it was rap music because Demac's verse is on there. So that was kind of an interesting
That's
experiment,
cool.
also. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the movies. Top five romance movies. This is for the month of February. We're actually going to see a love story today called Companion. which is not necessarily your traditional love story. So that'll be fun. Excited for seeing that.
Somebody
But
might die. We don't know.
we don't know. It looks crazy, but it's in IMAX, so it's like this little indie
Kidding.
film feel to it, but it's on IMAX, so I'm excited to see it. So let's jump into it. We'll save honorable mentions to the end because maybe you'll have an honorable mention that's actually on my list or vice versa. So if there's other ones that jump out or that you think about or have thought about, let's save those for the end. But why don't you jump in? What's your number 5?
Number 5, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a good one.
Kat is played by Julia Stiles, and she is just this kind of rebellious teenager, and her younger sister is really popular, and she's like, oh, so annoyed, but then there is Heath Ledger, who comes in as kind of the other rebellious teenager, but he like not weasels his way, but like he kind of gets into her heart, and so she lets down her guard, and then they end up falling in love, but it's all just kind of funny. Kat is just hilarious. She's like no nonsense and just
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is like a Julia Stiles heyday. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in it also as one of the side
yes.
characters. Heath Ledger. I don't know that this got his start, but it definitely was like in his wheelhouse at the time, like the kind of the teen dramas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
And what was it? What year did it come out? Like 90, 98?
yeah, 99.
99. Okay.
Another film. We just had our 1999 episode. Check that out. I talked with my nephew about the movies that came out in 1999, my favorite movies. But yeah, this one's in there. So, I mean, it's just such a good year for films. And I think this is also, you think about other Heath Ledger movies. Knight's Tale was another one that kind of blew up with him. And I think that's why when he wanted to kind of break out of that and do The Dark Knight and did the Joker, a lot of people were kind of revolted against that idea because he's the romantic comedy guy. Like, how can he be this evil, sinister, villain? And he proved us all wrong. Anybody that doubted him wrong, and just became the pinnacle version of the Joker. Which another episode, we did a Joker episode last year. So it's fun, like doing the podcast enough because there's like other episodes that kind of come back up in conversation. But anyway, but yeah, I really enjoyed the film. Another like side note of the film is it's actually based off a Shakespeare play called Taming of the Shrew. So that's
I
why
didn't know that.
Yeah, and so if you watch it with that in mind, one of the things that will always happen in plays is you have these side conversations that are happening on stage while other people are in the room or on the stage too. And then there's another, like, guys have a conversation and the girls are having a conversation. In the movie, it's the same thing. And it follows that same sequence and it bounces back and forth between the girls in the classroom and the guys in the quad and like having these conversations. True. I think another guy that's in it isn't the guy from Numbers is in it also, I think. Yeah, David Krumholtz. No, Michael Ekman. No, David Krumholtz plays Michael Ekman. And he was in a show called Numbers that I liked. But yeah, really, really, really good movie. Yeah. Great pick. Awesome pick for sure.
Thank you.
It's definitely one of those makes you fall in love. I remember the classic scene, of course, of him singing this in the football stands while she was practicing soccer. That also brings up the spoof of it in not another teen movie when he's singing Janie's Got a Gun and everybody's freaking out that Janie's got a gun and running around the field trying to get away from her. That was pretty funny too. But.
Well, and it makes me think of like Grease when they were singing in the stands. That must be like a thing to do in high school. I never did it, but
yeah, for sure. Very cool.
What is your number 5?
My number 5 is not a traditional love story, but it is one that always jumps out at me. And it's called High Fidelity. John Cusack is in the film. He plays a guy that works in a record store. He's one of Jack Black's first roles. It really put him on the map and made everybody like recognize this guy as a phenom. Like, we need to work with him. We need to do stuff with him because it's just exudes personality and energy whenever he's on camera. But yeah, so John Cusack owns a record store, and he's been. It opens with his girlfriend leaving his apartment, like they're breaking up, and so, when she's leaving, he's yelling at her like, Sorry. He's yelling at her like you're not like you were not even in my top 5 breakups. Like this is nothing. Like you're nothing to me. You know, this very hurtful kind of thing that you do when you're hurt, when you're been hurt hurt people, right? So he's yelling at her and she's leaving and so then he's like one of the things that they do in the record store when they're there is they'd say, hey, top 5 this albums, and they'll kind of, that's a game that they play while there's nobody else in the store. So he breaks the fourth wall, and John talks to the audience, talks to us, and he says, let's go through my top 5 breakups. And so then it's kind of this kind of flashback scenes where he's talking about these. He tries to meet up with these girls to see like what happened, and when he can, he tries to meet up with them. He goes on this journey, and he's telling us about his internal, like what he's feeling and stuff like that. It also has Elisa Bonet in it as a side character, just like in a couple scenes. And she sings a song. She's a really cool arrangement of Baby, I Love Your Way. For us, I think I recognized it from that kind of Jamaican style one Big Mountain did in the 90s. That's where I first heard it, but it was also an old classic rock song. And so she does this really cool, like acoustic, vibey arrangement of that. It always stick out to me too. But so get back to the kind of the storyline of the love story is as he's going through all these breakups and he gets to his number one, he's like, he recognizes like, no, you're the girl that just broke up with him is his number one breakup. It hurt him the most. He loves her so much. And he tries to win her back and tries to go and tries to fix things and tries to help things. And they end up getting back together at the very end. But the way that it happens and the thing that sticks out to me is, this isn't a kid episode, but she's talking about panties, and he talks about women wearing really nice fancy panties when they're dating, and then once you get married, you wear the white granny panties, right? Because you don't have anything to prove. You don't need to be fancy all the time. But it's like when you're dating, it's this fun and exciting and sexy thing, and then it's like when you're with someone, you kind of lose some of the fun and the sexy stuff because you're just living a normal life, and this is how normal people live. And so then he basically flips that and says like I'm learning now that's what I want. We think we want all the flash and all the things, but what we really want is that stability and to be with someone and to be that casual and be that, caring with some comfortable. Yeah.
It's just being able to be yourself and genuine. And I mean, there's something to say about dating, and it's fun and exciting, but you can't live on that high. Like that's not sustainable. So you need the day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my number 5. I think we watched it a couple years ago.
I'd never seen it.
And then we actually watched the show, which also had a Bonet in it. Lisa Bonet's daughter, Zoe Kravitz, played the John's role. So it was a girl of a record store instead of a guy. And it didn't follow the storyline exactly or anything. It was just kind of this really cool idea about a breakup and a journey through trying to navigate love in the 21st century. So,
and it was good for its own story. I mean, we loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's your number 4?
Pretty Woman.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So this came out in 1990, and I don't think I actually saw it until like the full thing. I mean, it would be on TV every now and then, but probably until I was about 12 or 13. And I love the transformation. So let me go back and just tell the story. So there's a prostitute, and she is hired by Richard Gere, and he's like a wealthy businessman. He got her some champagne and strawberries, and she's like, you don't have to wine and dine me, I'm just here. And he was like, she said, but there's one rule. You can't kiss me. And so I was like,
on the mouth, right? Yeah, you can't kiss in the mouth. Yeah.
And so she spends the night, and then he's like, okay, we're at this really fancy hotel. You need to go ahead and change your wardrobe. And he said, but hang on, can I keep you for a week? And she was like, well, how much would you pay me? And so he told her the amount, and she's like, the bubble tub scene. It was so funny. And she's like, singing Prince. And so she ends up going shopping, and then she gets like turned away at a store, and then she ends up going to like a Macy's or something and had a personal shopper. And so, just a fun like glam up
Mm-hmm.
series. What is that, a compilation?
Montage. Yeah.
Montage. There we go.
Yeah.
And then so her personality starts coming out because she's money savvy. I mean, that was one of the things we saw at the beginning, where she couldn't pay rent and her friend was doing drugs, and she's like, we need the money to pay rent. And so anyway, so we know that she kind of has her wits about her. And then
Mm-hmm.
she kind of got judged by some of Richard Gere's coworkers and were treating her like a prostitute. But she's like, excuse me, I'm more than that. And
Mm-hmm.
then like the horse track scene, and then the classic like brown polka dot dress. But then at the end, she was like, okay, so the week's up, so I've got to leave. Well, Richard Gere's like, I kind of like you, I want to keep you around. And so he does this performance where he's in the top of the limousine. So they have like one of those moonroofs. And so he like stands up and he's got the roses, and then he climbs up the outside of her apartment, and he's scared of heights. So that was the other thing. So he goes against all of that and he climbs up, and then they have a kiss, and it's like, oh, perfect ending, but
Nice. Yeah.
she's decided to go back to college, and she's like, she just needed a chance. She needed an opportunity, and
Yeah.
found love.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I've actually, I think I've seen it one time. So we should probably watch it together. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I don't even know if I've saw it without being like edited for TV or whatever. So, but
Is
I know
so
it's like,
good.
it's a classic, at this point it's a classic love story. And Julie Roberts and Richard Gere both put them on the map, for
Love
a
them.
lot of people. I think they had careers already, but it was like, this was like a,
That was her breakout.
was it her breakout? Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And then they also were together in Runaway Bride,
yeah,
which I thought I love that one too. It's
yeah,
cute.
it's cute. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I am not your normal dude. I love these movies. I love rom-coms. I think it's,
Yeah.
I love the action stuff too, and I love the ones that make you think. But I also can get down with a love story. I think I don't want to mention too many, but there's been a couple, even last year, that really shocked me at how good they were and how much I loved them. And they almost made it on my list, but they didn't. So
What
maybe
was
it'll be
there
an
like,
honorable mention.
Down to You with Sydney Sweeney?
No, anyone but you. Anyone but
Anyone
you.
but you.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that was super cute.
Glenn
And we
Powell, City
knew
Sweeney. Yeah,
like it wasn't gonna be,
right.
well, okay. So we didn't know if it was gonna be great, and it turned out to be exactly what we wanted. It
Yeah,
was
exactly. Yeah,
perfect.
and it came out at Christmas, which could have been a clue because a lot of times those movies they're good. They release them then because they know a lot of eyes will see them, and if it's good enough, then it'll do well because it's around Christmas. But I think we didn't see it till January. But yeah, anyone but you, so good.
Cute.
Like I said, that almost made my list. It almost made it on number 5, but I was like, I gotta go back and grab this one, because it's had more time to marinate in my heart, So well,
What's number 4?
my number 4 is also about a prostitute. Crazy. It's called Moulin Rouge,
Mm.
and it came out in 2001, I believe. Yeah, 2001. Stars Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor. It was one of the first musicals I remember seeing in the recent history, where the actors who aren't singers are doing the singing. Um, that was kind of a big deal. I don't know when it came out because Nicole Kidman had never sang before, and so she had to learn how to sing for the role, and she did a good job with it. And you haven't seen this one, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't want to give away too much, but it is about a prostitute working at a brothel. Ewan McGregor is a young man going to the big city to try and make it, as a playwright or something, as a songwriter. But the whole thing's a musical. But it's directed by Baz Luhrmann, who also directed Romeo and Juliet. And it's like this is part of his. They call it the Red Curtain trilogy, because the first movie he did, I can't remember the name of it, but it was about dancing. In the second movie, it was Romeo and Juliet with he used the Shakespearean language as his like red curtain apparatus, like that's what he's calling. And then Moulin Rouge, he used pop music, and he used all popular songs in the movie. There's not, I think maybe one or two originals for the movie, but the rest are like covers of songs, and he's telling the story using these pop songs. So he kind of grabs these things from the culture and kind of uses them as the mechanism for which he's telling his story. So the first one it was dancing, second one it's the Shakespearean language, and then this one it was the pop music. So really solid story, and it's kind of the same idea where Ewan's character sees her for the first time and falls in love. He's like, I want to be with you. So he hires her for the night, and then they don't do anything either because he's just confessing his love for her. And she's saying, like, in this whole, it's a huge medley of all these great love songs that they're just going back and forth on. He's saying a lyric from the actual song, and then she's responding with a counter idea. So yeah, one of the good examples of that is that Ewan says, just one night, give me just one night. And then she says, there's no way, because you can't pay. So it's like she kind of going through those, but it's all those pop songs, and it's that medley. It's crazy. Saw it with a bunch of dudes. I was traveling around with a bunch of guys we were in a singing group traveling around to different camps and colleges or camps and churches singing for youth, and so we went and saw this movie, and we loved it so much we ended up getting the soundtrack, and we listened to it like while we were in the vans traveling and stuff. And so we got to one of our last camps
on a CD.
On a CD. Yep. We were at one of the last camps, and we were in the line for the food, like the cafeteria line, and we just sang the entire medley together. Like the four guys are singing and everybody's looking at us like, what? But we realized we don't care. Like this is a great medley. It's a lot of fun. But so he wants her, and then there's this really rich guy that wants her too, and he's got all the money, so he's trying to hire her and marry her by basically paying for her, and he has love for her, and so she has to choose: am I going to choose for love, or am I going to choose because of money? And then just one of the best songs on the Come What May is the name of it, Ewan McGregor. And it's just part of it. The cool thing about the music too, and their singing performances, is that when you're a singer, you know how to sing. And so you put your singing voice on, and sometimes that loses a rawness that someone who doesn't know how to sing or isn't a classical trained singer has. When they sing high notes, they're just belting it with all they have because that's the only way they know how to hit the note. And so it has this guttural, this raw emotion to it that I think if you had hired singers to do it, it wouldn't have had that same emotion portrayed. But yeah, I mean, it's such a good love story. And I think for me too, the other connection is, like you were saying, the career path that she's on is one that the entire culture is like saying, you're bad, you're evil, you're nothing, you're worthless. And yet this guy sees her and loves her and knows that it doesn't matter what she's done, doesn't matter what she does, he loves her. And for me, and for us, when we were in the group together, we talked about that as being like the way that Christ loves us, that he sees us. And there's actually a story in the Bible where God tells a prophet, to go marry a prostitute so that he can know what it feels like for God, because the people of Israel are always going around finding all these other gods all the time, and they're not trusting him and loving him alone. And so he has this prophet do that so that he can feel like what it's like to have someone you love just out every night with someone else. And so that's one of the books of the Bible. But yeah, just it's a really cool story, good music, and I think that the connection for me, obviously emotionally, is that spiritual connection too, and recognizing that when you find that we all have stuff in our past that we're not happy with, and it's really something when you can find someone that loves you. And so
yeah, I know that hits both of us too. Like,
yeah,
we both have our stuff, but we could look past it and look into the soul and see something beautiful. So
and we grow from our mistakes. You know, it's part of it, and sometimes those mistakes.
The issue is if you don't grow, if you don't change, you recognize the mistake and you just continue to do it. But so after seeing or hearing the description of Moulin Rouge, all right, guys. So I have these stances that I take, but this man right here, he somehow breaks through them, and it makes me want to try things. But yeah, I don't love musicals so much, but apparently I do because like I love Phantom of the Opera and I love The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
And you mean, but I'm like, oh, I don't like musicals, but apparently I'm wrong. So I think I'll have to try it. And I did like that music video that came out
Hmm.
back in 2001. That was
But
always fun
yeah,
to watch
oh
on
yeah, oh my
MTV.
gosh, that
Yeah.
was, I didn't even get to that, but that was just bonkers.
Yeah.
That
That was
blew everybody's
crazy.
mind. Like that collaboration
Like with
was,
Pink.
yeah, Pink, and Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
Lil Kim, and then Maya was
Hmm.
the first girl. She was like the one I didn't recognize. I think it maybe one single from her that I knew. But yeah, when that song came out, it just blew everybody's minds. And I love that too because it's like the music video is so great because the song is so great because it's building to Christina because she's
Mm-hmm.
about to blow the roof off with this vocal. And in the
Mm-hmm.
music video, it's the same thing. Like you don't see Christina like, and then it's this huge build up, and then she's doing the hey, hey, and it's just like the camera pans up, and it's like, oh, she's going off, and everybody's going crazy. Oh, so great, so great. Yeah,
Yeah.
good call. So
All
you're
right.
gonna,
So let's add it to the list.
and I think you'll be able to relate to it because it's pop songs. Like you'll recognize the songs, and that's sometimes what it makes it hard. Sometimes for musicals is that if you don't know these songs, and it's weird that they're just why are they singing in a song? That's the style of the storytelling, obviously. But like for someone who's not used to musicals, it's like it is a little foreign to them just sing a song that's just a conversation. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
this one is singing pop songs you recognize as the conversation. It helps connect the dots for you. I think that's how I think you'll take it. But
Like
yeah,
Connor, when we were watching Wicked, he's like, another song. I'm like, I know, man, lock in. This is what we signed up
it's
for.
song after song after song, and that's not even. There was still a lot of talking in that movie too, and some musicals don't have any talking. Like that's, it's just the song, yeah, song after song after song. Just side note, one of my favorite musicals of all time is Music Man, and we haven't watched that one yet either.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I love that one. I wanted to ever since I saw it as a kid, I wanted to be in the show. I wanted to sing in the barbershop quartet of the show. I knew all the lines, all this stuff. And then my freshman year of college, I got an opportunity. They were performing it, and I didn't audition because I was a freshman. And I'm like nervous and scared to do anything like that. And then I was in the dining hall, and there were some guys that were in the musical, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're in Music Man." I was like, "Oh, I love that musical." And they're like, "We just lost one of our singers. Can you be in it?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely." And it was the first tenor of the barbershop quartet. So I got my dream role my first year of college.
That's cool.
I never wanted to be in any musical ever except that one, and I got to be the part that I wanted. Now, another cool part about that was that um, I was the unofficial understudy of the lead, also. Because everybody, the director and all the actors knew that I knew every single line, every single song, and they were like, if anything happens to the lead and he can't be in the show, you're gonna have it, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So that would have
Don't
been
make me
crazy.
sing.
Yeah, great reference, great reference. But that's how I feel in real life. Don't make me sing, but in performing, I like it. I like it. Cool, cool. All right, what's your number three?
Dirty Dancing.
Oh, nice. Now on my list. Go for it. Yeah.
Love, 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 love this movie. So I love dancing. You know, that gymnastics background, it speaks to my soul. And it's set in like the 50s. It did come out in 1987. Set in the 50s. It is Jennifer Grey plays this girl named Baby. She's just obsessed with helping everybody, like with the Peace Corps, and not even worrying about like what's not. Well, she just wants to help other people that are less privileged. So they take this summer vacation. Oh, I guess the Catskills. I didn't even know where it was, but it was really nice. It was like out with the mountains, and it's just for, probably rich people would go take this trip. Well, they've got the staff that's helping do dinners, and then they also help like do dance lessons as just kind of a side thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick Swayze is the main dancer, and so him and his I don't think it was his girlfriend. It was just another lady. They're just
Yeah,
really
they
well
kind of had.
paired together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they were just doing this dancing. Well, Jennifer Grey, who they call her Baby, which is kind of like her personality, kind of, but so she kind of gets interested in these dancing, but it's very risque. And so
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I don't know if I can do that. Well, one of the main female lead, she ends up getting pregnant and she has to take care of it. And so Jennifer Grey starts training to be the lead dancer, which she's never danced before. And so it was just fun to see her transition through that. And then ultimately her and Patrick Swayze fell for each other. But
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Swayze's character, he was a low life is what he just didn't have money, but he was a good
Mm-hmm.
person. And so their love that they fell for each other. And then the famous lift, that was fun to watch
Mm-hmm.
them train for that, where she like runs and he's like lifts her up and she does her
Mm-hmm.
nice pose. Um, and so yeah, it was cool to see how Baby stuck up for the lady who had some complications with the surgery that she had, and so she had to go get her dad, who was a
Mm-hmm.
doctor, and ended up and he was just disappointed in her. Like, how could you help somebody do this? And she's like, she's
She's a person. She needed help.
just a person, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm here to help, and that's what Baby's ultimate goal was. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it was just, and then the final dance montage, it just
Mm-hmm.
time of my life. So
Yeah.
just great
Yeah.
music.
For me, the standout for that, obviously the lift at the end, but I remember, the training lift, the training montage for the lift of being in the water and trying it in the water and getting all that. I think the other major scene that stands out to me is the one where they're singing, what do you call your lover? Come here, lover boy. And what if
Oh
he
yeah.
doesn't answer? And he's, and they're
Oh,
lip
Loverboy.
syncing that whole thing, that whole scene right there is like the most playful and the most like just really sensual kind of deal, and she's being all sensual and he's like trying to anyway, it's just great.
This
It's
is your
just great.
dance space. This is my
Yeah.
dance space.
Yes.
You don't
Yeah.
come into
Yeah.
mine. I don't come into yours. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, "Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's good. And then of course the famous line, nobody puts baby in a corner, so standing up to her dad for trying to keep her down. As a parent, I get it. I obviously get it.
Right.
This is like, it feels like these guys are low lifes and nothing. But as a teenager, you get like just the good feels from like, no, see, it all worked out.
Yeah.
Um,
And then they did a great dance scene at the end. It's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So a little note on that one is that the outside scenes for the Dirty Dancing house was actually filmed in Lake Lure, North Carolina, which is on Lake Lure, which is like right down the street from my granny and granddaddy's house. So I would like, I didn't ever do the tour, but we saw the house all the time. Whenever we went and visit, we could go like drive by or in the boat, go
That's
by.
cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to
So
go check that out.
yeah, that was fun.
That's neat.
Yeah.
We can
And
practice the dance, the lift.
yeah, let's do it. I gotta lift up, get my muscles back.
Work on your
Oh,
shoulders.
other side note, I need to give an update on my foot. Today's the first day I can walk on it normally. So it's been 2 weeks, 2 full weeks. I was in a boot 2 Sundays ago, and then like it got worse and worse and worse, and then finally I went back to the doctor yesterday at my wife's behest, and finally they gave me some extra love with the steroid shot and 2 more antibiotics to try and knock it out. So
And
back to
you're doing
normal.
much better today. So that's
Better
exciting.
mood too. Yeah.
Yes. He's grumpy, y'all. When he doesn't feel good or hurts, he's grumpy Gus.
Yeah. I don't like to not be able to be 100%. Like it's just like annoying and like, so,
Yeah. What's your
but
number 3?
my number 3, I think is going to be on your list. Titanic. No, you don't have
That was an
Titanic on your list?
that was an honorable mention for me.
Wow. I was expecting it to be on your list. Okay. So
There's so
yeah,
many.
yeah, there are so many. And I think for me, like this is another one of those where it's like the boy from the wrong side of the tracks meets the girl from the rich family, so it's funny, like ours are like kind of pairing up a little bit,
That's
on our
cool.
choices. It's not the same movie, but it's similar storylines. But yeah, it's the, you know, Jack Dawson, and he sneaks onto the Titanic, and he's just like, I'm going to America, man. I'm going to make something of myself, And he's drawing, he does his drawings, and he's like, just minding his own business, and then sees her, and then starts, talking, and then
Well,
gets,
he saved her because
what's that?
he saved her because she was
Oh,
going to
that's
jump
right. She
over.
was going to jump over, yeah, and then he
Yes.
saved her life, and so then he gets invited to the dinner table. Kathy Bates is there as the loudmouth American
Unsinkable
character.
Molly Brown.
Yeah. Oh, so great. Her character, and stands up for Jack because she's the same way. She didn't have money. She wasn't born in the money. She made her money, or her husband, whatever, died and left her money. I can't remember the full story. I'm sure you can tell the whole thing, but that's why I thought it would be on your list. I thought you would be doing this. But yeah, and then I think just she's engaged, but she doesn't love the guy. That's a great villain. Also, Bobby Zane. Um, I think that's his name.
Billy
Billy
Zane.
Zane. Great character in that film. And then I think they end up getting together, and the famous art scene. I want you to draw me in this, only in this. Um, Epic.
All the 13-year-old boys are like, okay.
I still haven't seen that scene. Yeah, because the two times I've seen it, it was with my girlfriend my high school girlfriend and their family. So of course I'm looking away. Like, I don't need to be looking at this at 17, whatever. But anyway, yeah, it's. But then, like, the car scene, the sex scene, they don't show
Mm-hmm.
anything. There's no nudity in that scene. It's just very sensual, and the sweat, the steam in the car is just memorable. But I think the whole point was just the love story of it. Uh, yeah, just falling for the one, and knowing, and then her spending her entire life knowing that that was her true love. And yeah, so.
And he said, live your life,
Hmm.
and with the pictures that show at the end, she did. She rode a horse, like, not two legs on one side, like
Right.
not side saddle, that's what it's called, and got to fly in a plane, and so it's just neat that that interaction, it shaped the rest of her life.
Yeah.
There was room on that door for Jack, just so everybody's aware. They She could have scooched over, it would have been fine, but I understand
Yeah.
she had to let go.
Right. No, yeah. And I think for me too, like, there's nothing really new about the love story portion of the movie. I think for me, it's just it's the it's the epicness of the movie that kind of puts it that high on my list. But when I think about movies with love in them, it's definitely up there. So.
Yeah. And it just she was just a go-getter. She didn't fit the mold, and I think that that's kind of what resonated with me. Like, I didn't feel like I fit the community I was raised in. Um, you know, just expected to be a certain way, but that's why Wiley fits my soul. We can cut that out.
No, it works. It works. All right. What's your number two?
Number two, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's my number one.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah,
So my number two is The Notebook.
that's my number one.
I thought so.
Oh, it's perfect.
And what's funny is I had The Notebook number one, and then I switched it for Romeo and Juliet because Romeo and Juliet's in my top 5 movies of all time. So I had to, like, well, of
Mm,
course it's got to be number one
yeah.
on my movies about love. But yeah, you go first. Notebook.
Of The Notebook, you see this old gentleman, and he's living at a nursing home, and he is just reading the story to this other old lady. And so, but with him reading the story, it takes you back in the movie to actually seeing it in real life. And it's about this girl from, I don't know where she even lived, but anyway, she was vacationing with her parents at their very nice mansion. So she is just having fun being a 15-year-old, I think, and just hanging out with her friends. And then they're at this fair, and Noah Calhoun is this little roughneck guy, Ryan Gosling. He comes up and is just like mesmerized by her, and he just had to see her. And so she's like, okay, who are you? And so he just kept trying to get at her. And so he ends up hanging on a Ferris wheel, and she like drops his drawers, and she's like, fine, I'll go out with you. And so the next day he comes up to her on the street, and he's like, how about that date? And she's like, I'm not going out with you. And so he ends up maneuvering with his other friend who was friends with the girl of her girlfriend, and they did a double date to go see a movie. And so I feel like the movie kind of helped Rachel McAdams' character like lower her guard, and so they walked home, and they ended up like dancing in the middle of the street and laying down in the middle of the street. And so these are all just not her typical behaviors. And so I think that like, but she's kind of a rebel, and so she's playing into that, and they just created this beautiful romance over the summer. Well, then she got accepted to Sarah Lawrence in New York. And so her family was not accepting of Noah because of, he
The
didn't have a
same
lot of
thing.
money,
Yeah.
but he was solid, and his dad was solid, and they had a great interaction. So she goes off to college. They end up breaking up. It was a bad breakup, but she kind of was like, okay, fine, I'm just going to proceed on. Well, Noah was writing to her every day for a year, but she never got the letters because her mom
Mm,
was hiding them. So then World War II happens. Noah gets called off. He goes to fight. He comes back. And Allie, which is Rachel McAdams' character, she's taking care of soldiers as a nurse just to help out during that time. So then she meets Lon, who's played by James Marsden. And surprisingly falls in love with him. And I say surprisingly because she had been so into Noah. So and he has money. So his family or her family loves him. So
right.
they end up getting engaged. And Seabrook, North Carolina or South Carolina, one of those. Anyways, one of the Carolinas. So while they're engaged, she sees a picture of Noah that he completed this house that he had told her when they were teenagers that he was going to completely restore. And it's this
For her,
beautiful,
right?
like,
Like he's
yes,
gonna, yeah.
plantation house, and it's on the river. And so she's like, okay, I just need to go visit Seabrook. And he was like, well, do you have cold feet? And she's like, no, I just need to go do this. So she ends up going out there, and like I just got chills. Like just seeing each other. I mean, there is something to be said about having like that teenage love, but like it is real. Like you do feel that. It may not work in real life. Like you're not going to get married at 15, not typically, but that is what they still felt. And so she remembered that, and Noah was like, I wrote you every single day, and she's like, I had no idea. So anyways, whole story, fast forward, she decides to stay with Noah, and the old gentleman reading the story to his we find out his wife is Allie because she has Alzheimer's, and so she remembers whenever he reads the story to her, and like it takes her back, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful book too. I got the book. It's great. I do like the movie better on this one. I just think that that's where I first captured it. But they end up dying together because, it, you know, she said at the end, can our love take us together? And he said, our love can do anything. And,
Hmm.
it's just, it's
Yeah.
so good.
It is. It is a very good movie. You did a great job telling that.
Thanks.
I think for me, like it's the passion of
Hmm.
the love is, and the memes of the story. Like, what do you want? What do you want? And then just the memes of using that anytime someone asks, "What do you want for dinner?" I don't know. I don't know. That's great. Funny story about that is that I saw that first time with my pastor when my first ministry position, and we all went as the staff to go see this movie. And then there's that really intense lovemaking scene. Again, like we're like, you know,
Story. You
I
think about
know it's a
something's going to
love
be in there,
story.
but
Yeah, yeah. But I think we watched that together for the first time probably a couple years ago. Maybe
no, it
even
was
while we were
last year.
dating. Was it last year we watched it
Yeah.
finally? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Another side note is that Nicholas Sparks wrote the novel, and this was like his breakout. Like This was the first movie that they made from him in his novels, and then they just decided, we're not going to stop. Any book that you write, Nicholas, we're going to make into a movie. So
Yeah.
he's just
And they like James Marsden because he's
Marsden.
in
Yeah,
another one. And that one was really good too. And a lot of Nicholas Sparks books are like where they were young and then
hmm
their current ages. So
yeah, yeah. I think wasn't Julian Huff in one of those? Um,
yes. I don't remember what it was
the
called.
last ride or something like that. I can't remember. That stood out to me. And then yeah, it's just he knows how to tell a love story, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the epicness of the story, the reveal of the characters being, you know, that's just so touching, you know, that he would do this and that she would remember and then forget, and how hard that would be. So the back, you know, the emotions of that is just wild. But great actors for that too.
Yes.
James Garner um, played the old version of Noah, and then
The old
Gina,
version of Allie, she
yeah,
just passed away recently, I think.
yeah, Gina Rollins, yeah. So really good movie.
Yeah.
It's my number two. I mean, I think a lot because of your love for it, you know, makes it high on
Mhm.
my list too. So yeah, good movie.
Romeo and Juliet, babe, you're up on this
Oh,
one.
man, we talked a little bit about this on Father's Day episode last year because it's in my top five. It's my fifth favorite movie of all time. Um, and where do I start? So I already mentioned Baz Luhrmann as a director. This was the first movie I saw of his, um, and I remember seeing this in the theater when I was in high school, Dollar Theater, I think, because it didn't do great. It didn't like have a long theater run or anything, but it was just fascinating to me. Uh, all growing up, well, I guess once I understood who Shakespeare was, I really was fascinated by the fact that he was one of the greatest storytellers of all time, and that whole way of talking in his plays, and I just loved the idea of Shakespeare's plays. But it was always hard to understand because it's spoken in a way that we don't talk now. So it's
Old
hard to know
English.
what they're saying. And it's even more than Old English. It's rhyming Old English. So it's like, it's even makes it more difficult because they just have to, the way he has to phrase the words in order to make the rhyme take place is just, it's not like talking, it's rhyming talking. But I always loved the idea of it. So all in high school, I loved the idea of Shakespeare and always wanted to, you know, be in a Shakespeare play. And I never got to be in a Shakespeare play. Well, I actually did, but that's another story for another time. But so the movie comes out, and for those of you that don't know, he abridges the version of the Shakespeare's, but it's all still the same script. He just shortens it so that it fits within a better time frame for modern audiences. But all of the everything that's happening is like 90s America, like LA. And so the clothing, the dress, the outfits, how about I say three different things that all mean clothing, instead of trying to say other things. The weapons. So like instead of using swords, like they have a long sword, but it's a shotgun that says long sword, and he's got a pistol that's called dagger. You know, so they still use the words from the play, but it's talking about the weapons that they're using in a modern retelling. Um, so with that context, with the visual context of current day at the time, the language made sense
Hmm.
because they were delivering it in a way and telling the story in a way that it connected the dots for me. And I just love the film. And I think too, like, uh, this being one of the greatest love stories of all time. It's the most tragic love stories of all time. It stood the test of time. It's been retold thousands of times in plays, local plays, Broadways, things like that. It's been in the film at least three times that I know of, like in like the traditional Romeo and Juliet
Hmm.
storytelling. And this one is the one that just for me is the definitive telling. It just blew my mind. Leonardo DiCaprio stars in it. Also is in Titanic, but Leonardo DiCaprio. this was not his breakout role. He won an Oscar for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, so that one really put him on the map. But then he fell in love with this idea. He met the director, fell in love with this idea, and just compare this to Titanic. So he told James Cameron, I'm not reading for this part. Either you give it to me or not, but I'm not reading for it. Because he would reach that level of being an actor, like he doesn't have to read. Like people want him in the films, and so he doesn't waste his
He's
time to go
good.
read. He's that
Yeah.
good. But he does anyway, because it's James Cameron. And then he comes in and he's a jerk to James. Like he's really perturbed at James Cameron for making him do this. And then he switches the light, and he's Jack Dawson. And then as soon as the scene's over with Kate, he switches back to being a jerk. That's how the story goes that James tells. Like I just had to see it, and he was the guy, so we hired him, and it's all fine now. I'm sure it was just kind of one of those things. So compare that around the same time as Romeo and Juliet, come over to this idea, and he actually flies to Australia to meet up with Boz and record, like with a video camera, record shots and scenes and do script and stuff to like give people a concept, because nobody understood what Boz was saying when he's trying to talk about like what he's going to do. Like they're like, he couldn't sell it. Like nobody understood it. And then Leonardo DiCaprio. So see the contrast, right? Like when he really believes in something, he'll put his energy to it. And I'm sure he thought Titanic was going to be fine, but James already had all the money, all the backing.
And
He
plus the
didn't.
vision. Like
Yeah.
we know the story of
Yeah.
Titanic. This
Yeah.
is an artistic
Yeah.
retelling
Yeah.
in today. You know,
Yeah.
it is hard, and it's very I think like you're saying that it's very gripping with how the story's told.
Yeah.
But like you said, we can connect with it, especially at our, I was 13 and you were 17 at that time. And Claire Danes was kind of breaking out too. I think she had been in
TV
a
show.
TV show. Yeah. And so for her, she had just that innocent face. And I mean, just that one clip where they're in the bathroom and, they just look through this fish tank. And I'm like, hold on, why is a fish tank separating the men and women? But whatever. But
Yeah.
just that connection, and it was just so beautiful and innocent, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they didn't even know.
The decisions that Boz made to not just modernize the story, but kind of like do some flips on the storyline, and kind of the traditional way of telling it. I think that one's one where it's just like the Kissing You song is being sung at the party, and they're just like, this amazing, like you said, great introduction. And then he says the line, "Did my heart love till now? Forswear it to sight. I've never saw true beauty till this night." Right? Traditionally, he sees her from across the room, and they didn't have any of that like close activity. And so
In the
Boz,
original story.
yeah, in the original, like anytime when it's done before, it's usually just they're at the party. He sees her from the party, and he says to his friend, "Oh wow, this girl's really pretty." But so it was cool to have that elongated moment where they could really like dig their heels into this connection visually for the audience to really get like, oh wow, they really are into each other. Like it wasn't just, oh, she's pretty. No, this is like, so it's a really cool decision for Boz to do that. The other one that's always fun for me is traditionally, Juliet's on her balcony and Romeo's down on the ground and hiding in the bushes, and he sees her in the balcony. And so Boz does that. He sets it up like that, where Romeo is up, he's climbed up into the backyard of her house where there's a pool,
And security cameras.
and security cameras and stuff like that. And he goes, and you see Juliet's window and the lights on, and you think, oh, she's going to walk out. And then he's like climbing up on the lattice to try and talk to her and like saying the famous lines like that he wants to see her naked. But then instead of that, the elevator beeps and she's walking out on the deck with the pool, and he's like having to like hide in the lattice like this, and she's doing her lines now. And so it was this cool setup for like, oh yeah, of course this is how they're going to do that. And then he says, nope, we're going to flip it on its head. And that whole scene, just, I think that's at least I believe 100% of those lines are like, I don't think he did many edits to that scene because
Hmm.
it's the definitive like moment where they fall in love.
And
Um,
he proposes
yeah.
because she's
Oh
like,
yeah.
"What do you want to do with me?" Like,
Oh,
and he's like, "Let's get married." It's more.
it's
I
it's
love
so
it.
great. Yeah, and I think too, like, again, like the modern visuals with that old language, it just illuminates the beauty because there's that line right there is like, um sorry guys, because he says she's needing to leave. They fall in the pool, and so they do a lot of the lines in the pool, um, and that's all interesting and good. And then she's about to leave the pool to go back to her room, and he's like, "Wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?"
Yeah. What satisfaction can thou have tonight?
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. And I think in the modern context, that hit so well because you're thinking like satisfaction. Yes, like are you gonna leave me so unsatisfied? Like that argument that we hear that to this day that men think that if I buy you a dinner, then I deserve your body. Like that
And
is
she's like,
so, yeah,
that's not
that,
gonna
so it
happen.
shows
So
that power, that woman, that she stood up for herself in that moment. But then to flip it back and to show like, no, that's not what he was asking. But
hmm
the look on her face was so authentic to what she thought she knew what he was asking. And so I
hmm
think that that takes that old, that wouldn't have come across, I don't think, in if we'd just seen it in the traditional clothing and the traditional scene, it wouldn't have hit me like it did, and it still hits me. Like that whole scene still just baffles me. And I think I shared this on the Father's Day episode, but I recorded this movie from VHS to a cassette tape. I brought my cassette tape deck out to the living room. I plugged the audio
you hit
jack
both
from
buttons.
the, yep, into the back from the VCR to the tape deck, and I hit record, and I recorded the entire movie. It took up at least one side and then half the other side, and I listened to it legitimately every day to and from school for like the entire school year after seeing this film and after it came out on video, obviously. And it was because like I said, I had this fascination with Shakespeare already. Like
Hmm.
I wanted to know what it was like. I wanted to understand it because it's like that classic like storytelling. It's the classic
And
language.
he's
It's just,
famous,
he's
and like
famous. It's beautiful.
what is it? Yeah, and I
Yeah,
had that same obsession too.
yeah,
Like I got his books, and I didn't know what they really meant, but I liked it. I liked reading them.
yeah. And so I memorized almost the whole movie. If we watched it, I could probably quote along with it about 95% of the
You
time.
can.
Um, I I probably can't at this point do that by myself, but I can do a lot of it. I can do a lot of it. And it was like really just a chance for me to like say like I could quote this to girls, and it would be like a nice pickup line if I knew Shakespeare. And actually, speaking of, two these are your number one and my number one were talked about in our first day we met.
Yep. And you were quoting Shakespeare, and I'm
I,
like, oh my gosh, I love that movie.
Yep, I'd come over to your desk and asked you to. I said, hey, you had said I'm not going to watch Star Wars and blah 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 blah, and I said, so you want to come over and watch Star Wars with me? And you're like, no, I like realistic movies. Like, and I said, what, like The Notebook?
Yes,
And you're like, nobody's dying at the same time. Like they're physically like just it's nothing.
it can
That's
happen.
never going to happen. Uh, it can happen, and also Luke Skywalker can save the galaxy. It just maybe hasn't happened
Yeah.
yet. Um, but yeah, that, and then like we were chatting back and forth, and I said, "Oh man, I could quote Shakespeare," and you're like, "Oh, you should come over and do that because all these people say you like me," and I was like, "I guess I wasn't hiding that very well," and you're like, okay."
There were other girls, and I was like, they're so much prettier than me, so he's gonna go after them. And then I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. So,
It was
uh,
just perfect. But I do remember when we watched Romeo and Juliet, and you
mhm,
wouldn't stop quoting it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna need you to stop.
I know, I know.
It's
I
fine.
just get
It's
excited.
fine. I
Just
know,
get
I do
excited.
too. It's a good thing.
It's such a good classic. It's a classic story, you know. It's classic words that they just still resonate and they still make
Hmm.
sense this many years later. And the storyline still hits the love, the fact that they, speaking of dying together, there's another connection, you know, that they
Yeah.
die together at the end because of their love and because of a mistake and a misunderstanding. They end up taking their own lives, and it's like,
Communication's key, friends.
yeah, exactly. And not like the Notebook, they killed themselves.
Yeah.
But but it was for love. Another movie that almost made it on my list, so we can jump into honorable mentions now, but it's connected, and that's Shakespeare in Love. That
Mm.
one came out like I think in 2000, maybe 99. I think it was 99. I think it won the best picture that year. It's a playful, fun, like what if, like what if this was like Shakespeare, how he did, come up with these stories and bid on these plays. And so it's him against another guy going back and forth as being the best playwrights in the town. And then there's in that day, guys only guys could act, and so all the female characters were guys dressed up as women. And then Gwyneth Paltrow wants to act, and so she tapes up her chest and puts on a mustache and cuts her hair, or at least puts on a wig or something, so that she can go and audition for the part, and she gets the part of Romeo in the play. And so so all that, and then at the end it ends up being that they get to he plays he plays Romeo and she plays Juliet because of a cast, something happens, but the queen is there. And it's funny too because like in that movie, like the whole point is like nobody wants a tragedy, give us comedy. Like the people don't want it, they don't want it, like just nobody's gonna see it. So just do your comedy. Can you just do your comedies? And so he's taking money from guys and saying, yeah, I'm writing a comedy. Yeah, I'm writing a comedy. And meanwhile, he's writing Romeo and Juliet, and then perform it. And the queen's there. Or the play ends, and it's just a straight up, like, you could hear a pin drop because everybody was just so moved by it. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that storyline resonates in the 1500s and the 2100s, So anyway, that's one of my honorable mentions. What do you got?
Notting Hill. I
Nice.
kind
Yeah.
of debated on that one. A little cheesy, but I feel like it's cute enough where, Julia Roberts is playing an actress, real life. And then Hugh Grant's just a traditional guy in London. And so she was there doing a role. Um, he has his bookshop. They run into each other, but like just the realness and rawness of their connection. So, and then, they end up being together in the end. It was cute. I like that one. So I was talking to my sister about our podcast today, and so I was like, what do you think yours would be? And so one of them was Up Close and Personal, which I don't, now that I'm looking at the cover of it, I don't think I've seen it. I think I was thinking of a different one, but with Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Really
was
good movie. Really
cool.
touching love story. They both are reporters and they work for different stations, and then they try to stay connected and work, But then there's like a tragedy that happens, and there's fear that one of them's going to die, and they have to try and get back to each other. It's just really, really good. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. It's
Yeah, we'll have
definitely
to
on the
watch that one.
list. Um, so one of the other ones that's not traditional love story, but we actually liked really well when we watched it was The Shape of Water,
Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so not a traditional love story because she's fallen in love with a fish man. But
Right.
that just kind of highlights it's just a visual highlight of the differences that we're talking about in all these other films. Romeo and Juliet, The Notebook, uh, all the ones we mentioned. It's there's somebody that's an outcast, and there's somebody that's not, but they fall in love, and they're not supposed to fall in love because they're from different classes, they're from different people of society. This is just highlighting in a sci-fi manner that allows you visually to see what all these stories are, and that it doesn't matter what someone looks like or acts like or what side of the tracks they're from. Love conquers, like love goes through that, and love finds a way, like Jurassic Park.
And like Martin Luther King said, darkness can't fight out darkness, only light can. I feel
Hmm.
like love and light are
Yeah.
the same, and
Yeah.
it shapes who we are.
Yeah. Another one that I did want to mention that we haven't seen together, and I don't think you've seen because you have a stance against Jim Carrey, but Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
Right. But you
It's
did tell me about it and I want to see it.
it's powerful love story, and it's basically uh, there's a technology that allows you to remove memories, and he's broken up with this girl, and so he wants to have her memory erased, or that she broke up with him, and then it's like, actually I don't, and it's that kind of, it's like, it's really interesting too because the storytelling is not linear, and so you're getting glimpses of his memories, but you're not getting them in the right order, and then you start, yeah, it's just really
Yeah, yeah,
good.
it
Kate
sounds good.
Winslet, so
I
Titanic's
like
own
her.
Kate Winslet, and Jim Carrey, and it's just really solid. I've only seen it once, but it's like on top of a lot of lists for best love stories. So we should definitely watch it.
Yeah.
February is the month of love, so gotta put some
It's
of these in there.
that's why I was born on Valentine's Day. I really feel like there was a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got to check out Jonathan's song, Valentine.
Yes, yes, please do. I'll probably share. I'll share it in the Instagram feed. At least a story. I'll share it on our story. I think I shared a
Yeah,
clip on the story last night. But yeah, if you want to check it out, that'd be awesome.
good.
Cool,
This
cool.
was fun, babe.
Yeah, and thanks for being on video. Like, I think this is gonna be really, really good.
Welcome.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the episode and for watching this episode. If you watched it on Spotify, we're super thankful for all of you that have listened. We actually had one of our Instagrams go viral last week, so we are super stoked about that. 13,000 views, which is, it's a good number for us. Absolutely. So thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching. And please get over to Instagram, like us over there. We'd love to chat with you if you have questions or have movies you want us to talk about. Feel free to drop us a line over there. And we also post clips from the podcast so you can share with your friends along the way. And the boys are great when they're on video. It's just so fun. They have such a blast doing it. And you get to see their personalities now, whereas before it was just a disembodied voice. We'll catch you next time. And until then, keep watching movies.